Hello, this is Patricia. I am Lady P and also Madly Creative Me. And I am coming to you for my first podcast. And this is dedicated to my friend Nancy of Schmutzarella Yarns. I call her Schmutzy. And she said, "Why don't you do a podcast?" So I am. And this is coming to you like unedited. It's not fancy. I wish I had music, but I only have a phone, right? Okay, I do have other things, but whatever. And it is what it is. But you have to start somewhere. So today, I'm starting here. And my interests span from all the yarny goodness. I love to knit. I love to spin. I also like to sew and bake and create. And I also am kind of a metaphysical maven. I am into the healing arts and psychic work. And I like to do tarot card draws for creative people. So stick around. The first thing I'm going to do is drink some tea. So good. And this was a tea that was introduced to me by my friend Schmutzy. And it is Stash Double Bergamot tea, and I love it. I love it at any temperature, and this is cold now, and it's delicious. I highly recommend it. All right, so recently I had the pleasure of going to the Washington State Fair to participate in the Sheep to Shawl team, which was great because I got to do the explaining, which is kind of funny because I don't weave yet. Anyways, I had a great time. It was a beautiful day at the fair. And I have to say, every time the Washington State Fairgrounds just look even nicer. So it was a beautiful day. It was awesome. And our team was a lot of fun. And I don't think we're going to win this year. That's just between you and me and the wall. Because I don't know if we spun enough fiber or had enough fiber to spin to make the whole shawl, which is kind of the point. The Sheep to Shawl is when you have a team of spinners and a weaver, and within a day you are picking and carding and spinning the wool to make the yarn to put on the loom to then weave it to make a shawl that you then cut off and then go ta-da after like 12 hours. So a real team effort, which is very cool. But I don't know if we made it this year. It should be the first year that happened, to my knowledge, but I'll report back. Anyways, on to the next thing. So if you're a knitter or a spinner or just somebody who likes tactile things, the last item that I had off of my needles, which was just recent, just the other day, was this lovely shawl. It is by Ysolda Teagues. It's called Mareel Shawl, and it's a takeoff on a half shawl. Beautiful kind of feather and fan ripple border, but rather than being like a square or a triangle, this is semicircular, and it's super easy, super fun. As you can see, I have kind of a semi-gradient effect going on here. And what I loved about the pattern was that it was extremely well written. Thank you, Ysolda. And I really enjoy supporting artists that have well-written patterns that have been tech edited. Yay! That makes all the difference in the world. I hate boo-boos. I make my own boo-boos. I don't need somebody else to make the boo-boos and then make me double my boo-boos. That's another rant, but anyways, this was a delicious shawl to make. I took and used my handspun, and I love to make shawls and knit shawls, and this is the first time that I knit a shawl from my handspun, and it was some East Frisian fiber that I bought from Abundant Earth at the recent Black Sheep Gathering down in Oregon. This year it was in Albany. And they had like a little, I call it an amuse-bouche. It was a little gathering of maybe about 6 or 7 colors. And the East Frisian fiber was from a farm that's just up the hill from Abundant Earth here in Washington State, up on one of the islands, and I can't remember where I was right now, I'm sorry. And they dyed it and processed it, and it was beautiful. It was kind of a long wool, and it was a little coarse, so I needed to blend it with something else. So I bought this ball of roving, some Corriedale. I'd never worked with either of them. I blended them together on my hand carders, and I was not carding correctly. They looked pretty. They were a little more difficult to spin than they should have because I wasn't doing a good job. But nevertheless, I love, it kind of looks like an agate rock, right? I love how it worked up. I also paired it with a skein of fingering weight wool yarn that was from Montana, Elsa wool, beautiful. So locally grown sheep, Montana, and then I think milled in Colorado, super cool. I stranded it so every other row with my hand spun in the first sections. I enlarged the third section by twice, and then I just went right into my hand spun at the full stop at the end, and then used the Elsa wool doubled for the lace edge until I ran out and used some of my hand spun over here. But I kind of like that. I could not say enough about this shawl, and I know that I will make it again. And if you have any hand spun in your stash, this is a great stash buster. In fact, it's a great stash buster for any kind of fiber that you might have hanging around, but the spun kind, you know, yarn. The next thing I want to talk about is I'm also competing now. I'm also, I don't even know what I'm saying here. I'm losing those noodles. All right, I'm also participating in a sockalong with the Homesteadhobbyist. I bought a braid of his one of a kind. That's my dog. No, I'm not taking you outside right now. I'll force him to get on television, the podcast. I'll force you to make a cameo visit. He's wandering around. He's thinking about it. Anyways, I bought a braid of wonderful Southdown Dorset Horn mulberry silk fiber to spin for his sock along. Spin along and then knit socks along. And it turned out really beautiful, and Ken advised me on how to break down my fiber so that I could get more of a barber pole effect, and it worked out beautifully. And I also really admire all of the interesting fiber blends that he has in his stock. They're always really unusual, and this was so well prepared. It was delicious to spin with. And I'm going to be knitting my socks, and I think I'll be able to finish it by the end of September. So yay me, because I spun this in like 4 days. I'm in between jobs. Crazy spinning lady. Crazy spinning lady. Delicious. So nice. That's what I've been doing. Some knitting, a lot of spinning. And the other thing that I like to do is my creative tarot card draw for creatives. Anyways, and I do that every day on my Instagram feed, which is Madly Creative Me, and I do it in my stories, and it's only up there for 24 hours. And today I did one, of course, and the card that I drew was this one. And so I'm just going to reprise that message for you, because part of that message is the reason why I'm here today. So we see the image of the knight, and he's finally encircled the dragon with all of his swords, and he's about to like put one last stake in. My hit on this today is that a lot of times we are in the long slog, the journey to finish something that we have started, and usually it's something that's really weighing on us. It's probably been not only a, like a physical chore to complete, but also mentally it might have been really a slog. And sometimes we get just to the end of a project, just to the end of a cycle, just to the end of an endeavor. And it's been so mentally challenging for us. Maybe we've had to do it on our own. Maybe we've had to bring this home to ourselves. We're finally completing this cycle. We've had to complete this and we're almost there and we get exhausted. We're like mentally exhausted. We're exhausted physically. We're exhausted mentally thinking about it and trying to bring this baby home to a close, to get on the next thing. And sometimes we just lag behind. It seems like the last thing we would do. Like we should just be pushing through to the home stretch. But also, there's that edginess to this, which is like, hey, I always complain and whine about this. This has been my cross to bear. This is the one thing that I speak to with friends and family. This is the one thing that I seek sympathy for. This is the one thing that has been defining me for this period of time. If I don't have this, what will I have? Sometimes people don't want to give up what's comfortable to them, even when it's a burden, even when it's a pain, even when all they can do is think about and talk about getting it over, getting it finished, getting through it. But on the other side, just as much as we want to be successful, we also are afraid of what that success will bring. Because once you finish this, once this goal has been reached, you walk around the corner and you don't know what else is there. We don't know what's next. There's an open space that has to be filled or contemplated and understood what is going to go there next. And sometimes that alone will stop us from pushing it through to the home stretch. So I'm here to say, just get it done. Move it. Push it through. And that's the reason why I'm here. Because my friend Schmutzy told me I should have a YouTube channel. And I tried it before and it was kind of lame. And she said, yeah, what are you talking about? Just do it. And tonight I was like, I don't know how to edit it. I don't know what to do. I don't have anything fancy. And she said, well, sometimes you don't have fancy. I don't have fancy. I'm just kind of a crazy, spinning, knitting, metaphysical fool that is a Pomeranian mommy. He's over there. He'll make an appearance if I give him treats. And I like to do tarot card draws. I like to inspire people and be what I call kind of a spiritual pep coach, or a spinning pep coach, or a knitting pep coach, or just get your shit done pep coach, because it's so much easier to encourage you to do that stuff. I'm still doing that myself, trying to get through life. My dog is looking at me funny. Anyways, make, create, love, hugging you across the miles. I'm going to put this up and we'll see where it goes.